Mr. Tinashe Mugabe, thank you very much for taking time to come and talk to us about the status of marriages in Zimbabwe. I know that you've been quite busy trying to work with families as a counselor and as a mediator, and you've been brokering some really important aspects of family institutions, and your work has ignited a lot of discussion, right? And these discussions have been, ablaze, so to speak. So I just want you to please give us a comment with regards to your own analysis and your own assessment around the status of marriages. We've got a marriages bill, which is quite varied. We have the chapter 5.11, and we've got the customary law, and then we've got civil partnerships, and 5.11 seems to be much more supreme. And sometimes males feel like the law or the legal frameworks are favoring women and girls. And there's a varied discussion. So what are you hearing on the ground from men and women? What is going on with the Zimbabwean marriages? Is there anything that you want to advise? Is there anything that you think can be done differently? Is there anything that can be done with regards to the legal aspects of marriages and all that? We're going to have Rumbi later who's going to talk about this. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to express my views on this platform regarding issues to do with marriages. All right, let me say I'm not an expert in this field. I'm just a layman. But in my experiences, I'm actually discovering a lot of things that are happening, in different marriage setups. There's a lot of discrepancies between what marriages appear to be and the reality thereof. There's a lot of things that are so invisible in the eyes of men and yet are so real in marriage setups. There are so many forces that are playing for and playing against marriages. And the picture that is being portrayed currently in marriages is not really what is on the ground. So let me use my little knowledge that I've gained, as I have been engaging myself in these cases, dealing with family situations, issues to do with marriages, and especially issues when there is a question regarding the paternity of the child. So basically, let me start by saying, when you talk about a marriage, it's just a union, and usually this union, it's supposed to be built by the two that are in the home. The two are the major determinants of what is going to happen or transpire in a family setup. They are the people with they are the overriding figures, in as far as whatever is going to happen. They are the determinants of what shape the marriage is going to take or the union is going to take. But I have discovered that a lot of marriages have been infiltrated, so to speak, by a lot of forces, a lot of factors. The number one factor is the family members, or let me say the relatives to the union. Those are the people that are playing a very pivotal role in determining how a union is got to transpire. So usually, of course, they do not live in isolation, but they should usually be the ones that are there to make overriding decisions. But many times we realize that it's the family members that are controlling the union of the two. It's also the family members that are making so strong and serious decisions for the two that are in a home. It's also like probably the aunties and the parents. A lot of people are involved. Hence, you realize that this is actually contributing to a lot of instabilities, in that union. So that's one of the important factors I felt I should highlight. And also, this has contributed to a shaky kind of a relationship. Many relationships are now so unstable, almost meaningless, because there is no more orientation and direction as to where exactly this marriage is going, because a lot of forces or of powers are playing a role or are afforded to play a role, in the progression of such a relationship. So that's basically one of the factors. I might not really go in detail, but probably this skeletal kind of of my expressions can be meaningful to some that are going to listen to it. One other factor that is contributing a lot, in the marriages, in the marriage status, is age. Uh, yes, if we are to compare the olden days and the modern day, how marriages were instituted, we can actually establish that, of course, young women were married, like at the age of 18, 16, 17, and so forth. But these people, they were already mature to go and handle a home. Unlike today, whereby we have very young people that are getting into marriage institutions. They are like 15 years, 14 years, 15, 16, 14, 15, 16. They are entering into marriages. So there is indeed a shift, and this has also led to instabilities in these marriages, because imagine that's a child that's getting into a home to form a union, and that child still desires to enjoy, the modern life, the modern trending behaviors and everything. But the moment that lady realizes that uh, uh, there isn't much in the marriage, it's more of imprisoning. It's more of depriving her of the liberty that she is supposed to have as a single lady or as a single girl. The experiences, she is now being controlled by the husband and so forth. Then that's where conflict starts, and whereby she's trying now to find a way of emancipating herself, from it's not a bondage, but let's say from the dominated environment, that she will be exposed to. So basically, that's another contributory factor, and that is like prevalent in Zimbabwe. In many places we are going, the people that are getting into marriages, like today as we speak in Morewa, it's a 16-year-old lady. She's already in a marriage, and she doesn't even mind if she's to be divorced and go back home. She doesn't even mind if the family union is broken immediately, because she feels that either being in the home or out of the home, she doesn't really see any difference, and the value of her in the home is also compromised. So that's basically one of the aspects that's leading to a shaky marriages these days. Another issue is to do with suspicion. Suspicion is now prevalent. A lot of people are suspecting another. Mainly it's because of social media, and people are engaging in a lot of things, that can actually trigger suspicion in a home. So once suspicion is triggered or is evoked, it is difficult to erase. It is also difficult to satisfy. It will breed more suspicion, and that will lead to a disintegrating home. So that's another issue, the issue of suspicion, because we are socializing on social media, we are doing a lot of things there, and that's another factor. And also education. You realize that education sometimes is lacking, especially when you go to remote areas. Those people, they just think that when they are grown up a bit, like 13, 14, then they should get someone to get married to, and then that's life to them. So lack of proper education, orientation, and guidance on other people, like the rural folks, it will actually is one of the factors that's actually causing such unstable relationships. And also they just think that to get into marriage is more of a graduation. So grade 7 form 1 already they're thinking that it's an achievement for them to be in a union like that. And also we have socio-economic factors that are causing the same. So the hardships and a lot of experiences that young women are experiencing, whereby there is no proper support in their homes, and the only way of alleviating hardships in their lives is only when they get married. The other also a very important factor and yet neglected is the discrepancy between pleasure and responsibility. A lot of people find themselves in a union because they wanted pleasure, but when that pleasure is then converted into responsibility, then a lot of people are trying to find a way of running away, because it's no longer pleasure alone, but it's responsibility intertwined with pleasure. But then the overwhelming part of them being responsible then leads to a shaky relationship, and then they are actually triggered into wanting to run away from that union. So that's another factor also. And a lot is happening in such situations, whereby at the end of the day the father runs away, maybe goes abroad, the mother has got child or children, but then that mother is maybe accused. These are experiences that are real, and we're encountering them as we are moving with our work. What then happens is that the mother is sometimes found to be at pains in trying to prove either to the father or to the relatives of the father that these kids belongs to you. But what then happens is that the father does not even want to participate, neither does he want to hear anything about that family or the children or that mother. So a lot of women are abandoned, and when they are abandoned, the only way they can resolve this is by hunting for this gentleman so that maintenance can be paid. So that alone is not enough, because the process as well is not even like accommodative to such women. So even a lot of women, they even tell that they are not even knowledgeable as to on how they can solve these issues, especially when the father runs away from them and they are abandoned families, abandoned wives, abandoned children. So a lot of men, even if they really know that this child is mine, they can decide to abandon. So a lot of women are overburdened, and the situations that they are encountering are so unbearable, mainly because of all the fathers that are running away from responsibility, and also they are running away from these because they are not at all prepared. They confused the pleasure that they were having. They didn't know that it was going to be converted into responsibility, whereby they're supposed to take care of that wife and also the kids as well. So that's basically some of the factors that are contributory. And I think that's all I can say regarding the law. I think there is a great need for the laws to be amended so that they are accommodative of issues to do with paternity fraud. They are also accommodative of the issues to do with responsibility, especially on the part of women being neglected by men, and yet the men really knows that the child truly belongs to them. So in enforcing kind of an approach, is actually needed, because if that does not happen, then surely the disaster that's prevalent in the family or in the unions will continue. So that's basically what I can say. I wouldn't want to comment more on the law, because we have responsible people that can actually deal accordingly, looking at these factors and also intertwining them with what the law is saying. So basically that's my contribution. So skeletal indeed, and my apologies because I was not prepared. I was hijacked by my sister Tendai to participate, but I hope these issues that I've raised can actually be helpful in trying to understand this topic. So this is Tinashe Mugabe, the DNA man, signing out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mugabe, for this. I think it resonates with what most of us would know about. Obviously, we've got relatives and people that would have experienced different kinds of turmoils in their long-term interdependent relationships. Could be marriages or long-term partnerships. Because we're quite we've got a very strong sense of community as a society, and I think the founding principles of our culture in Zimbabwe are such that a marriage is not just between two people; it's for the entire clan and all that. Do you think that has a bearing now? The erosion of that has a bearing on the individualism that is now manifesting in relationships, leading to their demise. What would you consider to be some of the contributors to some of the challenges that we are facing in sustaining long-term interdependent relationships where children are growing in harmonious relationships of that nature? And what would be your advice? What do you think is lacking? What do you think could be done to harmonize the traditional norms that have sustained most of the marriages from in the 70s and before that to the current modern take on relationships? How does that get harmonized so that people can continue to function optimally in long-term interdependent relationship in that manner?
All right. Yes. Okay, I get you there. That's fine. I wouldn't want to think that marriage has got to be considered as something that is for the entire clan. Yes, of course, they are concerned parties, but the two in a home are supposed to make decisions that are overriding. But because of the issues to do with the respect, issues to do with elevating, patriarchs in a family setup, and also issues to do with involving, the benefactors in family setups. Those are the people that are causing havoc, mayhem, and chaos in family setups. Because once they are there, whatever they say sells, whatever they say dominates. And even in decision making, it's no longer the two, but it's the whole clan, bringing different views, different sentiments on how, issues that are arising in a home can be resolved. So that actually brings more of confusion. It brings more harm than good, in a family. I believe that it's good to listen, to a lot of advices that are coming from relatives and so forth, even approaching them and so forth. But at the end of the day, the two in a home are supposed to really find or establish common grounds in trying to resolve their issues in a home. The more, because it is the two in a home, that are there together all the time, and probably with the kids. And usually people today, you might not even understand. An auntie that is not even married, that is grown to be so old, still in the family's home, is the one that is trying to give an advice, to a young couple, that are trying to establish a home. So you realize that sometimes a lot is happening, and a lot of families are intervening, and they are not only bringing in constructive ideas, but they actually bring in destructive ideas that is also lead to lack of momentum, in many different unions. So in terms of marriages, I think that individualistic approach is something that is that must actually that's much better, so that the two must be able to handle their issues. Of course, they are at liberty to consult, but at the end of the day, it's the two that are supposed to settle, or their disputes, their differences, and so forth, and resolve also their issues amicably, because it is them now that are in control of their destiny. It's not other people that are in control. So those people, when they dwell more on what they are resolving to do as a union, then they are also able to face the consequences, and they are also able to adjust in terms of if they encounter something actually different. So they are in control. So as long as they allow other people to run and dominate their families, then they are no longer in control of their families. So that's what I think. And also I actually of the opinion that for sustainability to be achieved in the homes, there is a great need for the two to come to a level of understanding one another, to a level of compromising, to a level also of trying, to bring harmony in the home and establish ways after studying one another or on how to bring harmony in a family setup. And that is the only way this can be achieved. And also people should consider, that they should be mature and be ready to enter into a marriage. Marriage is not something that you have to jump into, but there is something that must be done, that is preparedness. But lack of preparedness, in entering into this union can also bring consequences, negative consequences in the near future. Also that will lead to a lot of divorces. And one other factor that is also bringing disharmony in family setups is that there is a lot of labeling. I don't understand why. These are experiences that I've encountered. A lot of women are being accused of not being able to bear children, and traditionally it is usually the man that is labeled as one that is failing to bear children in a home. But we have also established that a lot of men are infertile, even more than women that are barren. But many times it is always the women that are being blamed in that family setup, and even the family members, they start to label those women, and then they also start to accuse them that they are not able to bear a child. But surprisingly, once they go out there, immediately then a child comes. Then we also realize that usually it's ideal for the two concerned to engage one another into rigorous examinations and establish the grainy detail on the origins of a problem that they are having in a home. And once they do that, then they seek remedies, as a family in the home. So instead of them having to go out and listen to a lot of things, and you listen to a lot of people that can also bring more harm than good in that union, I don't think that really works. I think the two in a home should really be focused, should really be determined to meet whatever situation that they can they are going to encounter in a home. And when they do that, then they are the only people at the end of the day that must find a solution that suits both of them for the continuity, or for their union or relationship. So that's what I believe. Or we are living in a world whereby everything is affecting everything. We are living in a world that's so dynamic. We are living in a world that's in circles, and everything that is kind of making sense today will not be making sense tomorrow. So a reconsideration, readjustment, and realignment, to the modern day realities is what's also important. The moment you get yourself fixated on a certain idea and a certain standard, it might not be applicable in a relationship, and then it will cause disharmony in a family setup. So let's also move with time. Let's also be able to accommodate the new changes that are coming in terms of technology, in terms of the way people are now socializing, in terms of a lot of things are happening. But what is best is to establish the best way to bring harmony in a family setup. So that's what I can say regarding that. All right, thank you. What I think about shared responsibility in a home, I believe you mean when a husband and a wife are actually trying to make ends meet, being responsible, as while the mother is doing something and also the father is doing something in a home. I believe that's also very important in that it actually brings kind of more of something that is more of a balance in a family setup. It also brings in balanced respect. It also brings in balanced responsibility, leads to balanced respect. It also leads to a balanced way of seeing or viewing things. It also affords every party concerned, to know and to learn, these experiences, the hardships and the problems, and how to bear. So basically, it's one of the important things that shared responsibility has got to be upheld, in a family setup, because usually, if responsibilities are not shared, it is only inclining on one side, then that person sees or begins to perceive himself, as the only benefactor in that family, and that person also begins to exalt himself. He begins to be disrespectful on the other party, and also regarding the other party as useless and failing to contribute. But that other party is also failing to see that home responsibilities and many things that the other party will be doing is also contributory in this union. So, but the perception is that when I am working and I'm bringing in finances in the home, then I'm the one that's more important than the other that's doing other chores in the home. So basically, shared responsibility is very important in a family setup. And also, coming now to the issue of the consequences of sexual encounters. Yes, the consequences are so many, in that if you do not bring a child that do not belong to that home, then definitely sicknesses and diseases will come into the home. So sexual encounters, I don't really think it's really something that people should do. People should actually try to make sure that they are satisfied and they respect the union, and also they respect the vows that they would have expressed when they started or established that family. It also goes hand in hand with maturity, especially when there's lack of maturity, then things are done haphazardly. But preparedness in entering into this union is also of paramount importance, because people needs to be prepared, and when you are prepared, it means you've created the much needed platform, for your relationship to start on. You have created the much needed springboard for your relationship to grow. But then if you lack that preparedness, then definitely you are starting from nowhere. Therefore, it's highly likely that you are going to end nowhere. So that's how I view that. How I see this. As that's how I can respond to that question. So basically, that's all in a nutshell.